Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So we're at the, God, what is this place called?
East River.
Well, we're at the East River, that's for sure.
We're in New York still.
But it's like the East River Park or something like that.
We're in New York.
We're in New York, yeah.
Lower East Side.
Yeah, we're in the, it's called the, John V. Lindsay East River Park.
I don't know if you needed to know all that detail, but...
People like to know where they're at in life. Tato Brahma Jigyasa.
All right.
Excuse me. So we're reading from the Bhagavatam.
Canto 4, chapter 3. What chapter is it?
13.
13, text 24.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Alright, text 24. Vidura requested Maitreya, my dear Brahmana, you are well conversant with all subjects, both past and future. Therefore, I wish to hear from you all the activities of King Vena. I am your faithful devotee, so please explain this. Purport. Vidura accepted Maitreya as his spiritual master. A disciple always inquires from the spiritual master, and the spiritual master answers the question, provided the disciple is very gentle and devoted. So there's a way to make inquiries.
Honestly, Dorothy is kind of funny.
Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said that by the mercy of the spiritual master, one is blessed with the mercy of the Supreme Lord. The spiritual master is not inclined to disclose all the secrets of transcendental science, unless the disciple is very submissive and devoted. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, the process of receiving knowledge from the spiritual master entails submission, inquiry, and service. So, yeah, nice points about how to make inquiries. I've been in many over the years classes where if someone's giving a class sitting on the Vyasa, you get some people who just feel like I'm going to be quite rude actually in the way they inquire.
What's called challenging.
It's
rather
very
than
off-putting. It's very off-putting, and it kind of spoils the atmosphere. And that's not how you're actually supposed to inquire. And if you think about it, it makes sense. Like if someone comes to you and wants to know something, the way in which they ask you is the difference between if you kind of clam up and go quiet or get hurt or offended, or you could just open your heart and give information. Doesn't mean you have to give your bank account number and give all person, but you're actually inclined to share. I'm saying you're sharing information. It really makes a difference. It's like when senior devotee says it's not what you say, but it's how you say it. So important. Words, communication, language, so important. So yeah, and more what to speak of spiritual master, one should know how to behave in his presence.
Yeah, in one sense you could say, well, it's not, sorry, were you done? One sense you could say it wasn't exactly, it's like almost like a secret to success that one needs to cultivate these qualities of provide disciples gentle and devoted, and then later it says submissive and devoted, submission and inquiry and service. So so the thing is what I always got is that you can't show up thinking you already know it all. You have to be in a space where you're a sponge looking for some nectar to soak up, You can't be like, oh, I already know this, I know that, what's he going to teach me, that. Anyway, text 25. Sri Maitreya replied, my dear Vidura, once the great king Anga arranged to perform the great sacrifice known as Ashwamedha. All the expert brahmanas present knew how to invite the demigods, but in spite of their efforts, no demigods participated or appeared in that sacrifice. Purport. The Vedic sacrifice is not an ordinary performance. The demigods used to participate in such sacrifices, and the animals sacrificed in such performances were reincarnated with new life. In this age of Kali, there are no powerful brahmanas who can invite the demigods or give renewed life to animals. Formerly, the brahmanas, well conversant in Vedic mantras, could show the potency of the mantras. But in this age, because there are no such brahmanas, all such sacrifices are forbidden. The sacrifice in which horses were offered was called Ashwamedha. Sometimes cows were sacrificed, Gavalamba, not for the eating purposes, but to give them a new life in order to show the potency of the mantra. In this age, therefore, the only practical yajna is Sankirtan Yajna, or chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra 24 hours a day. So 24 hours a day. There you go. So chant, chant, chant. Not can't, right? I'm telling you to chant, chant, chant. You're telling me you can't. You know that song? So very interesting, because we were just at a program at the Bhakti Center, and Dal Gauranga was speaking on the pastime of Prithu Maharaj, and he mentioned Ashwamedha Yajnas, because Prithu Maharaj was going to do 100 of them, and it is a whole thing that we just can't conceive of or understand. But imagine, like, the brahmanas were so potent that the demigods would actually manifest and be present, and you would see them or have a sense of them, and then they could offer a horse or a cow into the yajna, and out the other side it would manifest as like a baby, or not a baby, but a baby of that same species, and be like born again. So yeah, I mean, it may be that we're trying to understand it in that way. Maybe it was something slightly different, but for sure there's no one at the present moment who can do these types of things. So that's why we can chant Hare Krishna, and we can achieve the same perfection. 24 hours a day may be difficult for most of us. What do you think?
Well, I guess.
26, Mike.
Verse 26. The priests engaged in the sacrifice then informed King Anga, O king, we are properly offering the clarified butter in the sacrifice, but despite all our efforts, the demigods do not accept it. Text 27. O king, we know that the paraphernalia to perform the sacrifice is well collected by you with great faith and care, and is not polluted. Our chanting of the Vedic hymns is also not deficient in any way, for all the brahmanas and priests present here are expert and are executing the performances properly. Purport. It is the practice of the brahmanas conversant with the science to pronounce the Vedic mantra in the right accent. The combination of the mantra and Sanskrit words must be chanted with the right pronunciation, otherwise it will not be successful. Interesting. In this age, the brahmanas are neither well versed in the Sanskrit language nor very pure in practical life. But by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one can attain the highest benefit of sacrificial performances. Even if the Hare Krishna mantra is not chanted properly, it still has so much potency that the chanter gains the effect. So for the Hare Krishna mantra, you don't have to chant it properly, Prabhupada says, and you can still gain the effect. But for the sacrifice Vedic yajnas, you actually, which I don't think I've heard, you actually have to pronounce the mantra properly. Yeah, but not everyone talks the same way and has the same accent. So that's a bit awkward, really.
Yeah, I mean, that's the idea. Of course, as long as you chant Hare Krishna at these things at some point, then at least some success can be there. But yeah, it's not easy to learn, but there's a proper meter for all these things. It's like reading music. It's another language, but especially because there's intonations.
You just talk to the people.
Oh yeah, well I'm talking to you and you're the people. You're a people. When you like to be a people too. Yeah, so I think hopefully they can hear me, but yeah, it's not easy to get it all right. I get it wrong a lot of the time. I don't know if that is wise.
Sorry for 1 minute, look.
What do we got? Yeah, I saw those going when we came down.
I got distracted by a boat.
It's in New York City. It's either a tourist boat or a public transport boat.
Got slightly distracted. It's very distracting.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, let's read one more and then we'll call it a day. You read 27, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so text 28. Dear King, we do not find any reason that the demigods should feel insulted or neglected in any way, but still the demigods who are witnesses for the sacrifice do not accept their shares. We do not know why this is so. Purport. It is indicated herein that if there is negligence on the part of the priests, the demigods do not accept their share in sacrifices. Excuse me. Similarly, in devotional service, there are offenses known as seva aparad. Those who are engaged in worshiping the deity, Radha and Krishna, in the temple should avoid such offenses in service. The offenses in service are described in the Nectar of Devotion, and it's a long list. Lord have mercy. A very long list. If we simply make a show of offering services to the deity but do not care for the seva aparad, certainly the Radha Krishna deity will not accept offerings from such non-devotees. So basically, Prabhupada is equating, if you don't pay attention to the seva aparad and try to avoid it, then basically you're not a devotee. Devotees engaged in temple worship should therefore not manufacture their own methods, but should strictly follow the regulative principles of cleanliness, and then offerings will be accepted. The regulative principles of cleanliness. So, when Prabhupada says that, because there's the famous story that he said, if you, just when you go in the bathroom, if I told you all the rules and regulations, you'd never be able to leave. So, the regulative principles of cleanliness, we can take it that means, we just got to be clean. Okay, and if we're worshiping the deity, that means pujari clean. But cleanliness when it comes to pancharatrika is a lot more than just, having a bath. It's like you got to have a bath, you got to put on clean clothes, then you have to go and do achaman, you have to chant certain mantras, and that's simple. Actually, what we do is simple. I remember when we were in South India on yatra with Radhanath Swami, and we were in Kanchipuram, and we were next to a kind of a lake where the brahmanas would go before they would go in to do their pujari service, and they would sit there and chant loads of mantras. Then they went in the water and they chanted mantras, and then they sprinkled water, and then they came out and they sat and chanted more mantras, and then they went in to do their thing. It was like a whole thing,
That's too much.
Yeah, well, that's why you can't do it these days, because people like her couldn't hack it. No. All right, well, there you go, and there you have it. So we pick up again with text 29. It is a little distracting here, but we thought it was a good place to sit down and have a read right in the middle of all the chaos, because that's what we like to do, and that's what we used to do back in the day. So, hello. So we got lots of people around.
Yeah.
All right, see you guys later. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.